Guys, we finished the first 25 episodes.
And more. We did some bonus episodes too.
We did. I'm really curious as we sort of do this retrospective. I wanted to know what you guys were, sort of like what presumptions you had leading up to the initial production of the season, and I'm also sort of curious what you were most looking forward to tackling or learning as you were going into this.
I don't know. For me, it was. I don't know if I could really say I had expectations so much as that um, I knew this was going to be a different experience than the original run of the show. Um, that there was a lot of stuff I'd seen that was great, and I was going to be excited to go through them again and talk to them with different people. Some good guests, like I think my personal high point of the show was talking High Noon with Kenny. Um, and it was a lot of just like seeing some of the stuff I haven't seen and seeing how I vibed with them and seeing if I could come to the recognition of their importance. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was just excited to watch some movies and talk some cinema. I'm always just that's Mike pitched this like the reboot, and I was just like, yeah, we're talking about movies. I don't care. Sure, sounds fun.
I I'm very pleasantly surprised with how this turned out. I think the biggest thing, and Tom may not acknowledge it outright, but I think he shares this sentiment with me that I think the biggest surprise is how many people listen to this. You
Oh
know,
well, yeah, that yeah.
like that's when we started out, and I don't want to get into the raw numbers, but I think we had the kind of ambition where we're like, well, maybe if we build up a full season of listeners, we can maybe in a second season get up into the triple digits. And then we achieved that shockingly early on. We have had listeners who have reached out. We have had listeners who engage with us online. We've had listeners from a number of different countries, of different age groups. And it never, it always strikes me every time I see, the kind of thing where in the first month of the show, we had a number that we hoped to hit by the first week, the first week that the episode had been out. And now that number we regularly hit within the first day, and that's very cool. Because when I pitched the show to Tom and when I brought Kyle on and we started talking about this, I think we all kind of got on this page, this idea that we felt like there was a sort of a vacuum, not a vacuum. There were people doing it, but there was a hunger and an interest amongst people to find shows that talked about movies in a not just a positive sense, but in an informed and kind of academic sense, and really wanted to talk about why they mattered instead of talking about why whoever watched it was smarter than the hundreds of people who thought it was good, And the fact that people are responding to the show as they have is it's a very cool thing, because it means that we weren't just three guys sitting around saying, "Oh, I bet people would want this." You do, we're not the only people who feel that way, which is very cool. And I think it's also great that we have had so many great guests and people who I think when we started planning this out, we could not have expected to get. There was a lot of exciting people that we had on, who I think made for great episodes. And yeah, I just the people who showed up to listen, the people who showed up to speak, it's been a real privilege and a very cool thing to do over the course of a quarantine nightmare. Very, very cool. I think I don't remember the exact date, but it's probably close to a year ago that at least we were talking about this. We might have even recorded that like just for us pilot episode by now.
It was July actually.
Well, July we started recording the actual show, but I'm talking about when we did the
birds.
We did the demo episode with Kyle. You were our stand-in guest, based on Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. We did a test episode to see does this show work? And then once we, well, because
early, wow.
Well, because it took a couple months after we decided on that for me to start reaching out to people and wrangling people
Hmm.
and all that. So yeah, it was cool. No, this has been a lot of fun. I We have not recorded, other than one that we had to do late. We hadn't recorded an episode in a while, and for a while we were on a real fast clip of back to back to back. And when we were kind of on a recording break, for the listeners, our break is coming up. Well, but after this episode ends. But for us, we were on a break for a while, and I found that I missed it. You know, it was a lot of fun. So this has been a lot of fun to do. But what about you, Kyle? You were not that involved in the old podcast Tom and I did before this. How does it feel? You've been with this since the start. How you feel about it?
I went into this with very with no expectations, in the sense that I wanted to learn as much as I could. When you asked me to produce this show and you had approached me with the concept, I loved everything about it. Immediately gravitated towards my sort of appreciation for art preservation, and sort of being able to continue to not only highlight those things but promote them in a way that people, younger than us, or people that may not inherently be film people, could appreciate. And so finding a way to always bridge those communities just seemed like a great opportunity. And yes, the expectations that I had, I mean, they're what we've achieved, or rather the community we've built, based on the numbers I've seen. And again, we won't get into specifics, but what I've appreciated is, from the lack of, the three of us have not done a whole lot in terms of promotion ourselves, but our community is constant,
Yeah,
weekly. The same people that are tuning in every week are keep coming back around the same time, and that what was sort of exciting, as you mentioned, Mike, to sort of see that number continue to grow, and then be like, well, maybe, and then it's like, no, that is our new floor. And
yeah.
to have people interacting with us, asking questions, the types of questions, frankly, that I had, that maybe I did not want to outright ask, because, being embarrassed for my ignorance, but to understand that, or to recognize that those types of um, questions, and that was the type of community we were bringing in. I really appreciated that. So I'm really proud of what we've got going on here. Glad I got to watch some films with you guys. Build up our personal relationship in that regard as well too. Because at the end of the day, as serious as we all take this, this is a podcast. We should have a little bit of fun with it, and I think we all had a lot of fun producing this.
I mean, it kept us in touch. I think that's the biggest thing. Is it
That
gave us
too.
some.
That
It
was
gave us
that.
something to do.
All right, the first question I want to ask you guys: what's your favorite first time viewing of this list?
So there wasn't a lot of first time viewings for me, but the one that was a first time viewing for the most part, I had seen snippets of it before, but I hadn't watched it in full. And boy, oh boy, and I wonder if it's gonna be the same answer as Tom. But boy, oh boy, the crowd was stunning. I did not expect to be so blown away by that. It was a movie that affected me deeply. It affected me so deeply that if you go back and listen to that episode, I'm thoroughly depressed throughout it. That is the saddest I have ever sounded on this show. I thought The Crowd was an incredible film, and I was so glad to finally see it.
Well, for me, there was a few first time viewings. So I'm just gonna kind of do it like we're doing nominations and then pick my winner. So like my five was Sunset Boulevard, Some Like It Hot, Singing in the Rain, Grapes of Wrath, and Best Years of Our Lives. And Grapes of Wrath was my favorite first time viewing of the year. It was my favorite John Ford. I loved it a lot, and I was glad I finally got to see it. Best Years of Our Lives, close number two. That was another one that just hit me right in the soul, and loved it a bunch. And yeah, Grapes of Wrath, Best Years of Our Lives. You guys might like them. I don't know.
Tom, it's okay, because Best Years of Our Lives is my favorite pick. I had no real premise going into this, and I think it was one of the first, if not the first, new film of this bunch that I had seen, and I loved everything about it. Was really blown away, the type of story, I guess you could tell in that time. That was the first, I think, moment for me that I realized, oh, watching these and my preconceived notions going into these types of older films, like I was ready to open my mind, and it certainly helped having our conversation with Alec and kind of hearing him talk about his perspective only enhanced that first viewing for me too. So the next question I wanted to ask you guys was your most enjoyable rewatch. So a film that you had already seen.
Okay. Yeah. So there was a good bunch of movies I've seen before. My five are Casablanca, Citizen Kane, High Noon, The Searchers, and Vertigo. But I think the one that was the most enjoyable rewatch for me was High Noon. Um, all five of them were movies that I liked more on rewatch. High Noon was the only one I thought was a masterpiece the first time I watched it, and I liked it more the second time. Everything else was like something I thought was really good. But now I appreciate them a lot more. With The Searchers being a closer second than I thought it would have been, even a year ago before we started the show, and I just kind of just thought it was fine.
My most enjoyable rewatch. I don't have nominations because that was. We probably should have figured that out ahead of time if we were doing that or not. I did not think to do that.
No
So
worries. I prepped for both. That's why I sort of picked a middle
God
of the
damn
road answers. So
it.
Our producer
It's
knows us.
we have to we have to celebrate the dice roll of Tom is either going to underprepare or overprepare,
yeah.
and we love it. Most enjoyable rewatch mine. I gotta say it's Doctor Strangelove. I liked Doctor Strangelove when I was a kid, but it was one of those ones where like when I looked at this list, it certainly wasn't one where a lot of people would try and ask us and lead up to the show. We didn't do a lot of promotion, but I know for me, any time that I did promo for this show, people would ask, "Oh, well, what's your favorite?" And I never wanted to answer that. That was kind of my rule. Was like, I don't want to let's not say that because every one of these films has value, and I don't want to single one out or anything like that. But when I got asked that, like Doctor Strangelove never jumped to the top of my mind. And then we rewatched it for our episode with Connor, and I had so much fun revisiting it that I watched it again. Like maybe 2 weeks after we did the episode, I went back and I just watched it again because I had so much fun with it. So Doctor Strange was definitely my favorite, my most enjoyable rewatch, and it really brought something out.
Mine's pretty much a standard. It's Citizen Kane. I initially saw Citizen Kane obviously in college, so sort of that initial watch of finally kind of crossing that off my bucket list and being like, yes, I can recognize this is a good film. And with a little more experience under my belt, I think going back and revisiting this, especially in the height of is it actually good or is it overrated as hell? It's not. It's very very good. It's iconic, and yeah, I enjoyed my rewatch of it. My next question for you guys would be if you could go back in time or in a DeLorean and watch one movie in theaters when it debuted, which would it be?
I gave this a lot of thought. This one, because some of the other ones, like most enjoyable rewatch first time viewing, I knew right away. But this one I kind of looked at and I was like, well, this would be a fun question to ask, but I wasn't sure how to answer it. And when I thought about it, I've said before, what I love about going to the movies is those times where you're watching something and you just get hit with this awestruck feeling of, oh my God, we can do that. And so I was trying to think, like, what would that have been? What movie would give me that the most? And I think it has to be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I would love to have been there to see a thing that should be impossible. And just everything about it, from the color to the songs to the fact that you're just watching a storybook come to life, it would have felt impossible before that, and I think that feeling would have been absolutely incredible to just see what the energy in that room was.
Uh, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to take this. At the end of the day, I kind of just simplified it and thought, what's the one that really benefits the most from seeing on the big screen? Sans context, sans like historical import. Just what's the one that would envelop me the most watching it? And it's The Searchers for me. That giant widescreen Technicolor filmmaking that John Ford like just kind of perfected and was just like, all right, see you assholes, I'm done. I just perfected the form. Bye. I just think that would have been just an overwhelming sensation, and what else is there to say? The Searchers is just one of the best looking goddamn movies in this opening class.
So obviously having the bragging rights of being able to say that I got to see the original Star Wars on the big screen is in and of itself, something I would love to have. But for a historical purpose, I'm always sort of curious if I want to be there because I want to know if it was as big of this cultural phenomenon as it was, or if it was this slow burn. And I think at the end of the day, it'll probably come down to like sort of like where you saw it and like a regional thing, sort of what the vibe was of the country. But even so, I feel like being able to watch something that has had such a profound impact on my life and truly just once and for all being able to just have that experience one way or the other and sort of determine, yes, this is how we felt about it, or okay, it wasn't this incredible phenomenon right off the gate, so there wasn't like this discrepancy. I think would just be really interesting from my perspective.
Next up, we're going to be doing some traditional like awards categories. In future seasons, when we do these wrap ups, so everybody knows, I would love to do a best documentary and best animated feature category. Unfortunately, we only had one of each this year, so it kind of just defaults to that. However, we do have, we are doing these categories. We're not doing a best picture, but if we were, we wouldn't put it in the middle of the categories. I just want everybody to know that. We would put it at the end if we were doing it. Anyway, Kyle, what are we doing for awards categories?
We're going to again not go the Oscar route and start with best actor first.
Is Joaquin Phoenix presenting it?
No, just me, unfortunately, but I'll be just as enthusiastic if you want.
No, we're gonna do best actor, and everyone's just gonna assume we're all gonna say Orson Welles. And oh my God, Jimmy Stewart's back from the dead. Okay, so best actor.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so best actor. My five. I'm gonna go in descending order. Ascending order, I should say. Excuse me. It's gonna be Gary Cooper for High Noon, Humphrey Bogart for the 1-2 punch of Casablanca and the Maltese Falcon, Henry Fonda in Grapes of Wrath, Orson Welles in Citizen Kane, and my number one is Jimmy Stewart for the 1-2 punch of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and Vertigo.
Wow.
I just think not to be like a contrarian or anything, but like it's easy to say Orson Welles gave the best performance of this group, but I think the versatility of what Stewart did with these two movies, going from like genuinely sweethearted guy who you don't really mind is beating the shit out of everybody for 10 straight minutes in the movie to this really weird sweaty creep who like is kind of like the grandfather of incels is it's pretty astounding, and I think kind of should be the argument anyone has if anyone like tries to denigrate Jimmy Stewart as an actor and just be like, idiot, shut up. Like, watch Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and Vertigo and see what this guy could do.
You know, it's funny, Tom, when you mention versatility in performances and just giving different kind of performances. That's the very same thing that factored into my decision. But I picked somebody else. I picked somebody who did deliver several radically different performances in films of this season, and did it only in one movie. Because I think undeniably, Peter Sellers in Doctor Strangelove had to be my pick for Best Actor. The work that he did is a incredible virtuoso performance as Strangelove and Merc and Muffley and the entire crew. Just absolutely remarkable work. So funny, so well thought out. Just absolutely brilliant performance. Peter Sellers is my pick for Best Actor out of this year.
Knock on wood, you can edit this part. I am relieved that we've gone through 4 categories without any real crossover, because I also had a different best actor pick.
Mm-hmm.
I look, we're probably going to continue this running gag of shitting on the Oscars, but we have to recognize that sometimes they get it right. And as one of only 2 non-professional actors to win the Best Actor Oscar, I felt there was just something about Harold Russell's performance in Best Years of Our Lives. Obviously, that is a character that is not necessarily himself, but a part of himself is within that. So, like his soul, a part of his soul is within that character, and to sort of watch, I think, to loop it back to my favorite first time viewing, the reason I still think about the best years of our lives as I do is because of Harold Russell's performance. I again from a historical context, from just the very just unexpected, no real context going into this film, he stood out to me, and I like that aspect that there's just as much of a fictional character on that screen as there is an actual person. The next category that we have is Best Actress.
This is an easy one for me. This is not only my favorite actress performance of this year, but I recently endeavored to rank every Best Actress winning performance in Oscar history based on all the ones that I'd seen. And this is my number one Best Actress performance of all of those. It's incredible and iconic, and just it's one of those ones that you look at and go, right, nobody else could have done this. And believe me, they searched far and wide for somebody who could. My pick for Best Actress has to be Vivien Leigh in Gone with the Wind. Just one of those things that inspired performers for decades. Um, just an absolutely masterful performance in making a performance as a character that you look at and say, "Oh, I'm compelled to keep watching this person. I don't like them." At times you're empathetic to her. At times you despise her. Everything she is doing with Scarlett O'Hara and Gone with the Wind is incredible. So Vivien Leigh is my pick for Best Actress.
Okay, so for me, my picks are Mary Astor in The Maltese Falcon, Jean Arthur in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Ingrid Bergman in Casablanca, Kim Novak in Vertigo, and my number one winner is Gloria Swanson in Sunset Boulevard. Really, what else is there to say? It's an unbelievable, iconic performance. She's kind of the glue that makes this movie really hold together. She just, uh, I mean, ready for my close up, Mr. I mean, come on. Gloria Swanson fucking rules, and this movie rules, and I think leaps and bounds she's the best of the actresses in this opening salvo of the National Film Registry.
Speaking of iconic, my pick I also believe is incredibly iconic because regardless of whether you're a fan or not, people can recognize and respect uh, the power behind Carrie Fisher's performance as Princess Leia in Star Wars. As somebody who just recently, over the last couple of months, introduced a friend of mine to Star Wars for the first time, um, and went into it thinking it was just going to be this hokey, goofy, dorky thing, and came out of it not only loving every minute of it, but really resonating with Princess Leia and Carrie Fisher's performance. Continuously asking sort of questions like, what type of was that sort of archetype seen before up to that point? And seeing somebody ask those types of questions and be engaged with both my favorite medium and a powerful woman in cinema. Um, uh, she didn't get the recognition she should have, in during her time. But this is me giving Carrie Fisher the award she deserves. My next pick, or the next category on our list, is for Best Director.
Okay, so best director. Here we go with my picks. Number 5, William Wyler for The Best Years of Our Lives. Number 4, Billy Wilder for Sunset Boulevard and Some Like It Hot. And number 3, Orson Welles for Citizen Kane. Number 2, Fred Zinnemann for High Noon. And number 1-2 punch of the Searchers and Grapes of Wrath. It's my boy John Ford, that grumpy Irish bastard. He really made just two unbelievable works in this movie, with these two movies. Just the complete control of storytelling, the complete control of the frame, and how to work with the camera and the visual style he had, going from the black and white 4:3 filmmaking of Grapes of Wrath to the widescreen, just glorious Technicolor of The Searchers, getting career best performances from pretty much everyone in each of these movies. Um, John Ford just I mean, he's like proto Spielberg, and he just rocked it with these two. And it's hard for me to look at any of these others. As much as I love High Noon, it's a close second. But John Ford just pulled away with, again, the wide variety of these two movies.
So my pick, it's funny. This is a really hard one to do because, well, the National Film Registry in its induction year Inducted works by almost all the filmmakers that we consider masters.
Mm-hmm.
You have Stanley Kubrick, Alfred Hitchcock, John Ford. Um, you have all these people, Charlie Chaplin. You have all these people that you're pitting against each other, uh, and to pull one out is tough. But then I kind of sat on it for a bit, and I realized, well, I think what stuck out to me is who did the most with on their own. Not that filmmaking is not a collaborative art form; it absolutely is. But if I'm just looking at the director, I'm looking at somebody. I'm taking in all the other factors, and particularly, in the case of Hitchcock, he had been making films for a long while by the time we got to Vertigo, and so on and so forth. But my best director pick is actually somebody on their debut film, somebody who we came to the conclusion in our episode is one of the most extraordinary people to ever live. My best director goes to Gordon Parks for The Learning Tree, a movie that could have been a lot tamer or a lot more shallow, uh, and it would have been fine and it would have worked. But that movie it was so rewarding on this viewing, and I think it's going to be even more rewarding on further viewings. And it is crazy to me that he had not made films before that and just pulled off such a masterstroke. So my best director pick for season 1 is Gordon Parks for The Learning Tree.
My pick, best director, pretty straightforward. Might be a curveball, but it's Robert Flaherty for Nanook of the North. I don't know how
Ooh.
a man accidentally stumbles onto documentary film as a genre, but he did it. And growing up, documentaries easily became one of my favorite genres, and to sort of use this show as an opportunity to figure out where that all traced back from, sort of the complexities behind sort of what makes it a documentary, and sort of those subtleties that we still kind of go through today. I mean, quite literally is the godfather of documentary films. So yeah, I'm giving him, like many others, the recognition we didn't give him properly because there were no Oscars. But so I'm giving it to Nanook of the North. Next category on our list is best cinematography.
This is not a surprising one. This is cinematography that did not win an Oscar, but should have won an Oscar, and it should have won an Oscar so bad that as of this recording yesterday, a different movie won best cinematography for copying this film's cinematography. That's right. My pick for best cinematography has to be Citizen Kane.
Yep.
You just look at you just look at it. I mean, especially on this viewing, and you just go, yeah, yes. I think I might have. I when we were prepping this, we hadn't done our Kane episode yet, and I was thinking of like a couple things that I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go this way, maybe I'll do this, and then we rushed and went, no, it's Kane. It's Kane. It's best cinematography, Citizen Kane. Just the use of light and shadow, the camera angles, everything. It's a visual masterwork. Citizen Kane. It's best cinematography.
Okay, so for me, here's my choices. I expanded them to 6 so I could have 3 black and white and 3 color represented. So number 6 is High Noon. Number 5 is Casablanca. Number 4 is Gone with the Wind. Number 3 is Citizen Kane. Number 2 is Vertigo. And number 1, I've been praising it all night, is The Searchers. I think, like I said, the movie is an unbelievable, just visual experience. It's like watching a painting. Every frame you could just print out and throw onto a fucking Mondo screen print. It's just gorgeous. Cinematographer Winton C. Hawk did some amazing work. John Ford knew exactly what he wanted to see on the screen, and Hawk really brought it to life. And it's maybe my favorite Western visually after Sergio Leone's Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But yeah, I think Searchers just punches you right in the fucking eye.
This is our first crossover, so I'm going to parrot a lot of what you've said, Mike. But yes, easily Citizen Kane was my pick for best cinematography. I found this quote while I was just looking up what other people had to say about the cinematography, and the one that stood out to me the most was maybe the lack of light is just as powerful as its presence. And connecting it back, just as you said, to that second, or however many times you've rewatched this film, I truly did not notice it that first time because it's so subtle and so purposefully intentional that it just blends into the background. And so once you stop watching it for the sake of watching it, and you realize, oh my god, how are you Like, how the hell do you? How is something like this so good? It's just, yeah, no question about it. Citizen Kane, easy. Next up on our list, we have best editing.
Okay, so here's my selection for best editing. Number 5, The Searchers. Number 4, Citizen Kane. Number 3, Star Wars. Number 2, Singing in the Rain. And number 1, High Noon. High Noon is a movie that's just a pressure cooker. It's a Swiss watch of just precision storytelling, and the editing has to be precise. If one just moment, one beat is just incorrect and just falls flat, then the whole fucking thing falls apart. And it's I mean, it's one of my favorite movies, and Elmo Williams edited it, and it's really just I just think it's an unbelievable, the moment when the train finally comes in is just one of the fucking, I mean, one of those moments of rewatching all these movies this year where you just, your heart gets pumping and you're right there with Gary Cooper and you're like, oh fuck. And yeah, I just, High Noon. I mean, come on, what else is there to say?
My pick for best editing, it's tough. I continue to be torn between two. And of course, these are the two I'd be torn between. But I
It's
was
a
thinking,
tie.
no, but yes, it's a toy. Um, uh, we're the only people that quote that, but we quote it constantly. So I was thinking about, with editing, everybody thinks of suspense with editing and how important editing is to suspense. But I was thinking about how important it is to comedy. I've certainly watched a fair share of comedies this year, both from this year and from the past, that could have benefited from some very judicious editing. And I was thinking about how the masters, of comedy were so good with precise editing and knowing when to cut and knowing what to do. And so part of me really wants to say The General. We had a whole conversation about the editing in The General, but my heart goes to Modern Times. It's a thing where, I mean, it's a mostly visual movie, and every gag works because of the timing. Every gag works because Chaplin knows exactly when to pull away, exactly what to show you when. He knows when a close-up matters. He knows when a wide shot matters. He knows exactly what to do when. I mean, that is, I hate to say this about a movie involving gears, but I mean that movie is just clockwork precision. It's incredible. Modern Times is my pick for best editing.
And now I'm going to parrot Tom because my best editing pick goes to High Noon as well.
Fuck yeah.
You've got 90 minutes of plot. You've got 90 minutes of film. You can't waste a single second, and High Noon doesn't. If we're looking at film as escapism, then High Noon like grabs you by the freaking coat, locks you in a freaking chair, and goes, "Look here, this shit's gonna happen, and you need to sit here and watch it. There's nothing you could do about it." And you just watch, and you're waiting there until this climactic moment, and it is far more suspenseful than a lot of the contemporary stuff we see now, and was probably on par with Best Years of Our Lives in terms of first time viewing. And the only reason I didn't pick it is because I thought, well, that's right, it's not a first time pick for you, Tom, so I would have picked that. But anyway, I digress. That High Noon was easily one of my favorite new selections, and the editing had a lot to do with that. Next on my list here is best song.
Best song. I mean that. There are a surprising amount of songs in this, despite us. Well, no, we had a musical. But there's part of me that would want to go with some of the songs from Snow White or Singing in the Rain. I do love Singing in the Rain very much. But it's funny. There's a song that I think is just undeniable, and it's an obvious answer, but I have to say it. It's like recently I rewatched the Muppet movie for a piece, and there's something about when Kermit is singing Rainbow Connection, and you're just watching it, and even though nothing's happening, it's not moving the plot, it's not there's not a crazy elaborate dance number, you're just drawn in. You just can't stop watching. And that is most exemplified by my pick for best song, which is obviously it's Over the Rainbow from Wizard of Oz. It's a sequence that works so well. It's an incredible song. It is it speaks to a very deep understanding of longing, but can be understood by even the smallest child in the same way that something like Rainbow Connection does. And I just think that it just manages. It's a song that plays really well to you when you're 4 years old and watching it, and it's a song that still hits just as hard as an adult. So Over the Rainbow is my pick for best song.
Yeah, I didn't do any nominations for this one. It's Over the Rainbow. I don't like the movie, but the song, you can't mess with the song. It's great. It's iconic. It's lasted this long for a reason, and I mean, who am I to argue with at least the song? I'll argue about the movie the rest of my goddamn life, but the song, what are you gonna do?
I anticipated this, so I tried hard to come up with an alternative.
So Kyle
Um,
picked the gibberish song that Chaplin sings at the end of Modern Times.
that is exactly what I did. Because it is the first time that we hear Charlie Chaplin's voice. And again,
Ooh.
to connect that to my feeling of watching Star Wars for the first time. If Chaplin is as prevalent as he is in his time, and to hear this man, this giant of on screen speak for the first time, even in this ridiculous gibberish, I have to imagine just filled that entire room with some sort of glee or just like gasp of oh my god, he spoke. And for that reason and to sort of preserve that moment, I feel like it's yes. And just again, for the sake of just trying to do anything that's not Over the Rainbow,
Wow.
the nonsense song.
I was kidding. I was making a joke.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it actually,
right.
I was dead serious. No, I was totally 100% serious. I legit picked that to try to come up with a different approach. And I genuinely mean that too, though. I didn't just come up with a BS reason. I think for historical context, it's important. Yes. So, another one. Speaking of song and music, our next category is best score.
I mean, do we all
Okay.
just want to say it at the count of 3?
Right. Ready? Here we go.
I mean,
ready?
Wait, no. Tom has nominations. Let Tom do his nominations.
Oh, he does.
All
Okay.
All right, nominations: Citizen
All right.
Kane, The Searchers, Singing in
Uh-huh.
the Rain, Vertigo, and 1, 2, 3, Star Wars.
Star Wars. I mean,
Yeah,
okay,
come on
great.
Okay.
Moving on.
I literally,
It's perfect.
literally,
Moving on.
literally, my only note in here is John Williams, Star Wars. Yep.
John Williams came onto Star Wars and he just cucked the entire cinematography fucking union, and it was just like, yeah,
Which
guys,
is-
I just fucked all your wives right now.
Why did he cuck the cinematography union? He's a composer.
God damn it. My mind is mush. The composers.
We were up really late with the Oscars. I'm tired.
Oh God!
He cucked the entire composers union.
Look, some of you were Anthony Hopkins and I were peacefully asleep at 11.
Well, that's because you get your bottle early in the night, and Shannon rocks you to sleep.
Oh, Danny boy! All right. Anyway, next category we've got best costume design.
I'm sure there are some more radical picks. I'm sure there are people who could make the argument for, well, look at Kim Novak's outfits in Vertigo and those wonderful bras that are designed in the office or something like that. I'm sure there's an argument to be made for that. There's an argument to be made for Star Wars having to invent a whole new look. There's arguments to be made for that. There's arguments to be made for the iconic look of Ethan and the Searchers. There's arguments to be made for that. But God damn, it's Gone with the Wind. Like, you can't help but look at that and be like, right, that is the dresses are incredible and spawned 1,000 Barbies. Everything. I mean, just everything looks the work done on the costumes in that film and the detail is incredible. I mean, yes, is it a 4-hour showcase of Vivian Leigh in various incredible colors? Yeah, it's great. The costume work in that movie is absolutely incredible. And I'm a person who normally hates when the Oscars honor a period piece over something more inventive. I usually get a little annoyed when it's like, oh, well, this person had to come up with how aliens dress, but this person looked at pictures from the 40s. But at the same time, like, just God, it's such a knockout. Every outfit, every look in Gone with the Wind is incredible. It's got to be best costume design.
Number 5, The Searchers. Number 4, High Noon. Number 3, Casablanca. Number 2, On the Waterfront. Number 1 is Star Wars, because they made an entire goddamn different galaxy that felt lived in, felt real, felt tangible. and we're still fucking looking at that shit to this day. I mean, from other sci-fi movies that have tried to be Star Wars and failed to Star Wars movies that have tried to be Star Wars movies and failed. Star Wars is just on every technical level is hard to argue with.
That was my go-to. I tried to challenge myself there too, and I decided to go with what I thought would be an obvious answer for Mike, but I went with Wizard of Oz. And I went with Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Everybody obviously, especially my dad, it's one of the few films that I can actually talk to him about on this list. But regardless of who you talk to, everybody says it's the moment that film goes from black and white to color. That is just this, it just takes your freaking breath away. And for me, I've always felt that color alone, while an effective tool, could not work alone without something bold and just beautiful to look at. And the color alone, without the complement, that entire world blowing up as it is and just bursting with color, and all of the munchkins in this world, very much in the way that Star Wars designed an entire galaxy. It just bursts onto the scene with life, and without those costumes that sort of take you into an incredibly different world, like I feel like that movie just sort of doesn't really work or feels cheap in comparison. So that's my pick, is Wizard of Oz. Next category we have on our list is Best Art Direction, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, this is the original term for production design, right?
Yes.
Okay. Number 5, Citizen Kane. Number 4, The Searchers. Number 3, Singing in the Rain. Number 2, Vertigo. And number 1, it's a technical category. It's going to Star Wars. They made an entirely new universe, and it felt tangible. It felt real. We're still dealing with it today. And blah, 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 blah. I said it before. It's Star Wars. I don't know. It fucking... Goddamn, like, look at that movie. It's there. It exists.
That's fun. So, Tom, you picked what is the newest movie in the original class, right?
Yes.
77 Star Wars. So I went the complete opposite direction, because my pick for Best Art Direction is Intolerance. I think that when you look at the fact that it had to create 4 different time periods, and the work that had to go into that to replicate 4 different eras, and the fact that so much of it is still so impressive today. There are so many older films that you look at and go, oh, well, that's obviously a flat. Oh, that's obviously that. I mean, the guy built the giant elephants that stayed there until they decayed. The art direction and is what makes Intolerance a spectacle. Like that's its most notable feature, and I felt like I had to recognize that. Just the amount of work and craft that went into creating those 4 different time periods in Intolerance, I think it's absolutely remarkable. So that's my pick for Best Art Direction.
I had the same approach, because I went back and forth between Star Wars and Intolerance, and from a purely technicality award, and from the fact that I had already given so many awards to Star Wars up to this point, while I do not respect the man, I do have to respect the 3-hour dense epic of a blueprint for the modern blockbuster that he gave us. And so yes, I have to give the Best Art Direction to D.W. Griffith and Intolerance.
You didn't have to say. I just said Intolerance. I could have pretended that he wasn't part of it. I was just like, let's just not say it.
Oh,
let's just be like, that movie art directed itself. It's fine.
Last category for this list is our Best Visual Effects category.
Is this another one where we should just do a 1, 2, 3, or did somebody have a radical pick here?
I don't think so. I think I feel pretty good about the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. The other guy just went Intolerance for fucking art direction. Are you the one with the radical pick?
No,
okay.
I'm absolutely not. There's one answer.
Ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Star Wars.
Maltese Falcon.
Yeah, there you go.
No, it's Star Wars. Yes, I'm fucking with you. It's Star Wars.
Yeah. I felt like that one was so obvious. I wasn't sure if it was even worth including, but I was like, let's just set a precedent for future years.
Well, I mean, okay. Yeah, Wizard of Oz, great effects. Yeah, good job, guys. Citizen Kane, some good optical effects and camera tricks, models and all that stuff. But I mean, come on, Star Wars. What are you doing even coming to this game? You're bringing a goddamn Nerf gun to a knife fight.
All right. So now what we're gonna do, everybody, we're gonna do a quick thing, real quick, before we look at next season, which is we have at the end of every episode this season, Tom and I have made our picks for the registry. That's not just us saying things that should be in there. Everybody has the ability to submit films to the National Film Registry. The Library of Congress allows the public to submit nominations, and the ones that receive overwhelming support will be factored in future decisions. I can't imagine that something like The Dark Knight getting in was not, at least in some way, because of a large outcry of public support. So all of those films that we picked, the films I picked over the course of 25 episodes, the films Tom picked over the course of 25 episodes, we are actually going to submit on behalf of the show as our nominations for the National Film Registry. Of course, we have to make some tweaks here and there, and you'll find out how we're doing that. But I am going to go ahead and read my 25 for one last time. We're going to read them all, go through them all at once, and then Tom will give us his, and then we will talk about how one or two more might be making our nominations list. So these, starting from our very first episode all the way through to our most recent, are my picks to go into the National Film Registry. I selected Boogie Nights, Hannah and Her Sisters, Technological Threat, The Lone Ranger 1938 serial, Moulin Rouge, Iron Man, Bamboozled, the Dixon Buffalo Bill films, Terms of Endearment, The Little Mermaid, Blue Velvet, Street Fight, Tongues Untied, Batman, A Clockwork Orange, Just Another Girl on the IRT, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Crazy Cat Bugologist, Thief, The Wizard of Oz 1917, Watermelon Woman, Huelga, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and Errol Morris's conversation with Donald Trump about Citizen Kane. Those were the 25 films that I picked to go into the registry. Tom?
Alrighty, my picks are Barton Fink, Rolling Thunder, Matawan, Man on Fire, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Blade, Casino, Fort Apache, They Live, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, Brick, Nixon, F for Fake, Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, Failsafe, Crooklyn, The Blues Brothers, Magnolia, Fat City, Brazil, Blood Simple, The Hired Hand, The Age of Innocence, The Train, and There Will Be Blood are my 25.
Now, you guys might have noticed, for those of you who've been paying attention, that two of the films we named, one of my picks for the registry and one of Tom's picks, were selected for the National Film Registry this past year. We obviously recorded those episodes before that selection was made. So we had a question in front of us, which is, well, what do we do? I had A Clockwork Orange. That's already in, so we're not going to submit that. Tom had The Blues Brothers. That's already in. We're not going to submit that. So what should we do? So we decided that is where Kyle comes in. Kyle is going to pick the films that fill in those two slots in our registry nominations. So, Kyle, what two films do you think should be in the National Film Registry?
This first one's an obvious one for anybody who knows me, and for those who don't. I live and breathe everything Spider-Man, and we need to get Sam Raimi's Spider-Man into the National Film Registry. Much in the way that I believe Christopher Reeve's Superman is in the registry. I believe that Spider-Man came at a time where me as a growing up post 9/11 and just the country sort of needed a symbol, and I resonate so much, I think, of my ideology and my passions and sort of like what I sort of cater to kind of growing up all stemmed from my initial viewing of Spider-Man. That confusion and that I think we all sort of felt, and feeling this sense of hope come from this extraordinary, amazing character. Yeah, I think as much as I appreciate The Dark Knight being on that registry, I think Spider-Man for tradition's sake should be on the film registry now. So that is my first pick. The second pick is a little unorthodox, and I'd like to say it's probably more of a reflection of what I've learned um, working on the show with you guys, because it's not a traditional pick. It's not one I think stands out as inherently being valuable. Um, it's a short film. It's only about 19 seconds long. I can give you the transcript here real quick, and if you want, you can let me know if you guys are familiar. All right, so here we are in front of the elephants, and the cool thing about these guys is that they have really, really, really long trunks, and that's cool, and that's pretty much all there is to say. That is Javed Karim. That's the co-founder of YouTube, and that is the first YouTube video uploaded to the site, Me at the Zoo. YouTube is not the first of its kind in terms of video sharing, but it has rapidly evolved the way we communicate and interact with one another. And just this past Friday was the 16-year anniversary of that upload. And it's so crazy because as somebody that grew up with YouTube, there are so many iconic videos on that platform that stand out as the best of the best, as greatest of all time on that platform. Me at the Zoo so rarely ever becomes a subject of that conversation. And it's a lot of what I realized when approaching this as kind of uh, approaching the work of the National Film Registry, recognizing that when they mean film, it is not inherently a narrative film. It is stuff that is worthy of preserving, whether it's your favorite film, whether it is worthy of historical context. Um, and I'm hoping that uh, we can tackle the more obscure silent films and newsreels. And yes, the music video, if we somehow manage to continue producing the show that long to talk about it. But as we continue to sort of question the future of cinema now, and sort of what preservation will look like, I think it is important for us to start to recognize digital video and internet content as a legitimate source worthy of preserving. And while the complications and the political turmoil of sites like YouTube continue to be put into question, for historical context, I believe that the first YouTube video, Me at the Zoo, should be inducted into the National Film Registry.
This may not get kept in, but I want you to hear something, Kyle. Okay,
Sure.
and I
Sure.
want you to listen carefully.
Okay.
Do you know what that sound was, Kyle?
I don't know what that sound was.
Oh, that was the sound of me angrily, very angrily, scribbling out on the list of what films I would pick next season. Me very angrily scribbling out what was next to The Great Train Robbery, which was Me at the Zoo, because I thought, I'm going to be so fucking clever, and I'm going to make this impassioned argument about the first YouTube video. And
yes! Oh,
when you... And I was like, this
God.
is such a clever idea. I'm going to sound so smart when I do it next year. And then the minute you went,
Wow.
so these are the elephants, I just went, motherfucker.
Oh, and as soon as I
What
said
a-
it too, I could feel it. And honest to
Kyle,
God,
what a good
wow.
choice. What a
Wow.
bravo.
Honest to God, because
Bravo.
what I have found looking at observing you guys, right? And Mike, of course, you bring a lot of historical context to these older films that our audience theoretically may or may not be familiar with, right? And yet as producer Mike, the question I sort of have a conflict with is, how do we gravitate towards people that are younger that care one way or another? How do we get them to care? And part of my rationale behind it was, well, you start by legitimizing the media that they consume. You start by recognizing that, yes, a YouTube video, may not be at the same quote unquote quality as something like a Charlie Chaplin film, but its contribution to our society, for better or for worse, is important. And once you start actually recognizing that, then people are going to start getting involved. It's another reason I hope that, yes, while I bitch bitch and moan about Spider-Man almost every week we talk about this show because of the Dark Knight selection. I now feel emboldened to actually make a passionate cry to try to get it on this year. So, just trying to get people involved.
Yes, bravo. We are on to our last little step, which is we are going to look ahead to next season. When is next season coming out, you may wonder? We don't know. You'll know when we know.
When it's ready.
But yeah, you'll know when we know. But we do have some tentative plans. We have some people we've talked to. We have some people we know we want to talk to. And it's certainly something we're all passionate about. And we are. I think I speak only for myself when I say legitimately bummed that we are going on what for you guys is a hiatus. For us, it's not, because we're going to be working to bank up episodes and try and build the next season. So we'll be hard at work, even though you won't be hearing us. And I will just say, before we start talking about season 2, you can help us make season 2 better and all future seasons. If you've been listening to the show, especially been listening for a long time, we do ask that you guys can help us out. We are going to have a little survey that people can do. It's like a couple, it's a real quick thing. Just take a couple minutes, and you can let us know what you think of the show, what you've enjoyed, what we could do better, and it will help us build a better show going forward. It'll be in the show notes. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to do it. Let your voice be heard. Let us know what we could be doing. And with that, what's going to happen is I am going to read off the films that we are covering next season on the show, the second induction class at the National Film Registry. I've seen them all, so we're going to hear Tom and Kyle's thoughts on what is ahead. Here are the films that we would be covering next season. All About Eve, famous Bette Davis Best Picture winner. All Quiet on the Western Front, another Best Picture winner and one of the most stirring anti-war films of all time. Bringing Up Baby, the delightful comedy with Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn that was just inducted into the Criterion Collection. A very stirring drama that I think a lot of our listeners haven't seen, but I look forward to them seeing it. It's the William Wyler film with Walter Houston, Dodsworth. Very powerful drama. Duck Soup, the beloved Marx Brothers comedy. Fantasia, the Disney classical musical epic. The Freshman, one of Harold Lloyd's most revered comedies. The Godfather, the film of the 70s, the movie that defined the mafia movie. The Great Train Robbery, the very first action film. Harlan County, USA, an incredible documentary about labor dispute. How Green Was My Valley, John Ford's stirring coming-of-age drama that, as we all know, beat Citizen Kane for Best Picture. It's a Wonderful Life, the perennial holiday classic. Killer of Sheep, Charles Burnett's powerful drama that was lost for so long due to music rights. Love Me Tonight, a Maurice Chevalier musical. Meshes of the Afternoon, which is Maya Deren's short experimental film. Ninotchka, the great Ernst Lubitsch comedy. Primary, a documentary about John F. Kennedy's primary run. Raging Bull, the Martin Scorsese boxing drama with the incredible performance by Robert De Niro. Rebel Without a Cause, the definitive James Dean film. Red River, one of the quintessential westerns. The River, a documentary about the Mississippi River made by documentary legend Pare Lorentz. Sullivan's Travels, one of the great comedies about comedy. Top Hat, the legendary Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers film. Treasure of the Sierra Madre, of course, the Humphrey Bogart classic, and A Woman Under the Influence. That's right, we will be talking John Cassavetes next season. Out of those 25 films, how many have each of you guys seen already?
I have seen 7 of these.
I have only seen 4.
Of the ones that you've seen, which ones are you most excited to talk about next season?
Oh boy. I mean, listen, I'm Italian. I'm always ready to fucking revisit and talk about The Godfather. I'm an Angry Guinea. I'm always ready to talk about Raging Bull. Love me some John Huston, so I'm ready to dive back into the Treasure of the Sierra Madre as always. Love talking John Huston. It's a Wonderful Life. Movie always fucking eviscerates me, rips my heart out, and throws it back in my face, and makes me cry like a baby. And because I love tough guy movies and tough guy filmmaking, I can't wait to watch A Woman Under the Influence again. Just got to represent tough guy cinema. And yeah, I mean, it's a good list, and can't wait to get to them.
I'm excited for Rebel Without a Cause. I saw it, I think, about like 5 or 6 years ago, probably just as I was starting to really get serious about movies. And I remember enjoying it, but maybe not fully appreciating it. So I would be curious to see what I discover on my second rewatch. It's a Wonderful Life. My high school history teacher showed it to me for the first time I think it was around Christmas. So I have fond memories of that movie. Again, The Godfather is a Godfather. Enough said. The most I think I'm curious for is Fantasia, if only because I remember seeing it so young, and uh, it is revered as such an epic tale, and I don't remember a lot about it. And maybe because it's just maybe like a collection of different. Because I was so young, I didn't like comprehend that, like, oh, these are all different action scenes and whatnot, not one whole cohesive film. Like, I might be able to appreciate it a little bit more, but yeah, I would like to know what adult me thinks of Fantasia.
And of the ones that you haven't seen, I did give a little synopsis for each. Of the ones you haven't seen, which film are you most intrigued by?
Oh, most intrigued by. Well, Sullivan's Travels I'm most intrigued by. Everything I've heard about it's great. I mean, it's a National Film Registry, so no surprise there, but it sounds like it's right up my alley. I'm excited to get to Harlan County, USA. It sounds like a documentary that's really going to go for a lot of things that I'm interested in. Like it'll be a good double feature with Matawan, which I suggested to be entered into the film registry. All Quiet on the Western Front sounds, again, right up my alley. John Ford's got How Green Is My Valley, so got to represent there. I think the one I'm most intrigued by, though, is Red River. I'm just always interested in diving into Westerns and seeing more Westerns and expanding that vocabulary, because there's so many and so many different, eras and countries and just so many different styles to it. And I really just can't wait to get to that one, which is, one of the most lauded Westerns that I haven't seen.
I'm curious about Primary. My dad and I share mutual appreciation of John F. Kennedy, and I mentioned that Primary was going to be on our list next season, and even he was confused, so may not have been familiar with it. So I'm hoping that when we tackle that, I can sort of share that moment and use that perspective with him. So that'll be nice. Raging Bull is a blemish on my record, so I'm glad that I finally get to not only watch it but then get to tell Tom what I think about it, because I imagine I'm gonna love it. And then I would say the one I'm most intrigued by, for the reason Mike mentioned, is the Great Train Robbery, for it being the first action sequence, sort of connecting it to sort of I resonate a lot with that Uncharted 2 train sequence, but like that sort of that moment of, oh, this is what we can do, and being able to tackle that from a historical context.
Well, that's what lies ahead in season 2. We are looking forward to doing it, and we really hope that you guys will join us for it. The people who have been listening, the people who have been reaching out, have been so great. We're so grateful for it, and we hope that you stick around. This has been a lot of fun to do, and it's really helped get us through a really dark time. So we hope we helped you a little bit. Thank you guys so much for listening. Take the survey if you can, and we look forward to coming back for season 2. Thank you guys so much.
See you guys on the other side.
I have a plan. Monsieur!